On behalf of HDFC Security, I welcome everyone to this Sudarshan Chemical conference call to discuss the result for the quarter and full year ended March 2021. It is a pleasure of having with us top management team from Sudarshan Chemical, represented by Mr. Rajesh Rathi, Managing Director, Mr. Nilkant Natu, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Vivek Thakur, General Manager Finance, Mr. Amay Athalle, Deputy General Manager Finance, and Mr. Mandar Velankar, Company Secretary. Without further ado, I will now hand over the floor to the management for making the opening comments. Over to you, sir.
This is Rajesh Rathi. Thank you, Nilesh and HDFC Securities for hosting our earnings call. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sudarshan's Q4 and full year ended financial year 21 earnings conference call. Our investor presentation has been uploaded on the stock exchanges and our website for your ready reference. I would also like to highlight that starting this quarter, we have enhanced our presentation with a set of disclosure to help our stakeholders have a better insight on our business. This is our first step towards setting standards in the investor communication. Going forward, once a year, we will do a video call or a live interaction, and the other quarterly calls we would continue on the audio format. Yeah. So, can I get the next slide, please? So, just to give you a glimpse of the company, I think Sudarshan has become a leading world-class color solution provider with the emphasis where we want to create sustainable and exceptional results. We have, from an infrastructure perspective, we have two world-class sites, one in Roha and Mahad, which are very much scalable from both the effluent, all the infrastructure perspective, and we have a dedicated R&D site on the outskirts of Pune. In terms of our people, we have more than 60 channel partners, more than 50 to 60 dedicated salespeople, and more than 2,000 plus workforce. Our focus of our business is only colors and pigments, and we are not forward integrated where some of our competitors, we do not compete with our customers. We've also created a very good global reach with exports to more than 85 plus customers, 85 plus countries. Next, please. In terms of our reach, we have created a direct sales office in all the important continents. So, for example, wherever we have offices, we have a dedicated sales team, a dedicated technical service representative, and we carry our own stocks in that area, right? The latest addition of our subsidiaries is Sudarshan Japan. Next slide, please. In terms of our journey, I think in the last 10 years has been a fantastic. Our growth CAGR has been more than 10%, and we have now become, we've now become a pure pigment play, a focused pigment player company. We did have small businesses in agrochemicals, master batches, and some engineering businesses, some of which we've already divested. I would say 10 to 12 years ago, it would have been difficult to, globally look at where we stand, but today we stand very tall and being the third largest pigment producer in the world. Our domestic market share is, more than 35% in India. We did, in the last 10 years, there's been a big transformation in our R&D. Though we always were a technically led company, I think we've laid a great emphasis on both R&D and application labs and created world-class centers in both India and Germany. Having in the last 10 years transformed our product range from a commodity-based classical pigments into high-performance pigment range, cosmetic range. This entire range has been created within the created with our own know-how. If you look at today, our renewable energy stands at about 20%. 10 years ago, we had 0%. In terms of our CAGR, as I mentioned, 10%, earning per share, in the last 3 years itself, it's more than doubled. We continue to invest, and that's how our gross block has increased. Yes, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. There's a huge market which we address. The direct addressable market, I would say, is $8.6 billion. And the largest market for us is paints or coatings. Then would be, I would say, inks, plastics, and then cosmetics. And we have a very niche range for each of these applications. Yes, please. So, if you look at the pigment industry update, due to COVID-19, some of these segments have been doing better than the others. For example, plastics has seen the plastic industry has seen moderate to low impact, mainly because a lot of it goes into food packaging, plastics, hygiene products, or personal care products. Packaging inks has really seen a low impact, mainly because it's again food packaging, and of course food packaging has increased as all of us stay indoor, right? I would say paints and coatings, that's one of the last things where someone would want to get our house painted and has had some impact, right? In terms of the industry structure, the top 2 players have been wanting to divest. There is also, we have great tailwinds from both these areas that the top 2 people want to invest, and China have had several environment health related issues, and that's where I think India and companies like Sudarshan have great potential for us to grow. So I think potentially long-term changes in supply chain and there has been some disruption in raw materials, and that's where I think we've seen some raw material increases. Next, please. If you look at our capex plan, we had embarked on some time ago on a 600 crore ambitious capex plan, out of which some of our capexes did get delayed because of COVID. But I'm glad to inform you that none of our capexes were cancelled. Right, we went ahead with all because they were all sound capexes at growth. So out of which I think only the capex which has not been invested is only about 38 crores out of which. And in terms of the capex which we have incurred, the put to use is about 293 crores, and 269 crores is still balance, which there is already work in progress. So there is kind of things, but they have not been completed or put to use. Right, out of the 293 crores, 222 crores was put to use in FY20 and 71 crores in FY21. Right. We estimate the balance 307 should get put to use in this financial year. The potential of this sales from this capex would be about 1,000 to 1,200 crores at full capacities. And yeah. Nathu sir, over to you.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Am I audible? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rathi. Good evening, everyone. I will briefly update you on our financial performance for the fiscal year 2021 and for the quarter Q4 FY21. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Starting with the full year performance, the total income from operation on consolidated basis was at rupees 1,864 crore as compared to rupees 1,708 crore for the previous year, a growth of 9%. In spite of the COVID disruption continuing in H2 of financial year 21, we were well placed to mitigate the challenges to our business caused by the nationwide lockdown in H1. H1 revenue stood at rupees 781 crore for the financial year, while H2 revenue was strong and stood at 1,083 crore. EBITDA for the year was at rupees 288 crore with the margins of 15.4% as compared to rupees 246 crore in the previous year with the margin at 14.4%. Profit after tax, excluding exceptional items, is at rupees 140 crore as compared to rupees 109 crore. Next. Sudarshan has invested for growth in the last 3 years. So ROCE has been, return on capital employed has been steady and stands at 14.8% for FY21, while earning per share has increased by 81% to rupees 20.2. Other key financial ratios remain healthy. Okay, that's it. Next slide. Next. Okay. Next slide. Next. Yeah. For FY21, income from operation of pigment business stood at 1,753 crore as compared to rupees 1,590 crore over the previous year, a growth of 10% year-on-year. EBITDA has improved from 14.7% in FY20 to 16% in FY21. Next. Export sales is at rupees 897 crore as compared to rupees 783 crore in FY20, a growth of 14% year-on-year. Domestic sales grew by 6% year-on-year and stood at 856 crore. Next. The sales from our specialty pigment business is at rupees 1,203 crore, which is 69% of our revenue. Non-specialty sales contribute 31% of our revenue and stood at 550 crore. Next. Now coming to our quarterly financial performance. Our consolidated income from operation for the quarter stood at 577 crore as compared to rupees 449 crore for the corresponding period of the previous year, recording a robust growth of 28% year-on-year. EBITDA for the quarter stood at rupees 87 crore as compared to rupees 54 crore in Q4 FY20. EBITDA margin is at 15.2% as compared to 12% for the same period last year. Profit after tax is at rupees 48 crore as compared to rupees 17 crore during the same period last year. PAT grew by 176% year-on-year. As highlighted on the previous call, we opted for the new tax regime from financial year 1920. Next. Now on the pigment business, the income from operations stood at rupees 533 crore, a growth of 33% year-on-year. Company continues to see good traction as also in all categories of product lines. Next. Hold. Gross margin for the quarter as compared to 43.9% during the same period of the previous year. The withdrawal of Export Incentive Scheme, MEIS, had an impact of 1% on margin year-on-year. Details of the rate under the new scheme roadmap are yet to be released, and thus income for the same has not been accrued. We saw sharp price increases midway through the quarter in the several intermediate products. We are in the process of passing on this incremental cost to our customers. However, normally there is a lag of a quarter in completing the entire process. Next. Domestic sales for the quarter were at rupees 273 crore as compared to rupees 206 crore, a growth of 33% year-on-year. Export sales stood at rupees 260 crore as compared to 196 crore, growing at 32% year-on-year. The specialty sales stood at rupees 363 crore as compared to 284 crore for the previous year, up by 28%. Specialty sales includes the revenue from Azo, high performance pigment, cosmetics and dispersion. Non-specialty sales for the quarter stood at rupees 170 crore as compared to rupees 118 crore for the same period, up by 43% year-on-year. Non-specialty sales includes revenue from halothane, inorganic and effect pigment for use in plastic and textile industry. I want to highlight that we have enhanced our disclosures from this quarter to share domestic and export split along with the specialty and non-specialty pigment sales. This being a transition quarter, we will share volume growth data as well. The specialty volume grew 27% compared to Q4 FY20, while non-specialty grew by 42%. Going forward, we will disclose only value split, which is more representative of our business drivers. Next. Coming to the business outlook. Next slide. CapEx projects under commissioning to drive our future growth and bring in EBITDA improvement. We will continue focus on expanding our product portfolio and deeper penetration in select international geographies. Improvement in return on capital (ROCE) will continue as a key initiative. Our manufacturing plant continues to operate in line with various directives of the government amid second wave. We at Sudarshan continue to deploy and practice necessary safety precautions regularly to ensure continuity and uninterrupted functioning of our plant. Safety and welfare of our employee continue to be of utmost importance to us as we continue to deliver on our stated goals. We look forward to continuing our growth journey and delivering value to all our stakeholders. With this, I now open the floor for question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone phone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ankur Periwal from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Congrats for the good set of number and happy to see the enhanced disclosures in our presentation as well. So my first question, on the gross margin front, while you did mention that some pass through, the pass through is taking it typically takes one quarter or so, 3 or 4 months there. Trying to understand whether we have taken any price hikes in the last quarter in Q4. Or, all the price hikes are to happen, let's say, starting this quarter, which is April onwards.
So, this is Rajesh here, and Nathuji, if you want to add, I think we've already started that price increase discussion, and we did pass on some increases in March too.
Okay, fair enough.
Nathuji, you want to add? Sorry.
No, sir. I think you have covered. So, Ankur, we have started doing the price increases. Couple of customers we have initiated. Couple of customers we will start getting the price increases from this quarter.
Sure. And second thing, just as a follow-up to this, now incrementally, if I go back our earlier commentary as well, a large part of the capex is going into the premium, the specialty segment there, right? So ideally speaking, the margin expansion should continue going ahead, given a favorable growth on the specialty side, wherein we are expanding capacity. Will that be a fair understanding?
Yes, I think it's a good mix. I think we do have good specialties coming up and good products which will be coming up. So it would definitely help, definitely. Sure.
Sir, another question on slide number 9, wherein we had explained our capex plans. So 600 odd crores, and you had highlighted a revenue potential of 1,000-1,200 crores on that. So just one clarification: this 1,000-1,200 crore incremental revenue is on total 600 crore capex, because that includes a number which was incurred in financial year 20 and 21 as well, or this is incremental, starting taking 21 as a base?
So this is total for the 600 crore investment.
Okay. And if I go back, to your commentary, wherein we had, sort of being, let's say, a leading player in selective products at a global level. With all this capex coming in, we believe, large part of that investment is already done, or there could be a second phase of this investment, which maybe can happen 6 months out or 12 months out.
Sure. I think major part of the investment for the new products would be done. However, we would require, if you may recall, one of our areas we want to grow is a little bit on the cost leadership, and we would require investments in that area going forward.
Sure. So, will that mean some bit of backward integration, investments related to backward integration there? Will that be right?
Yes. And also, like I said, major part of the investment for new products is over, but we may need some, depending on the responses, etc., some area for volume growth, we may have to invest in some areas for that.
Sure. And sir, lastly, if you can just, provide some color on the response on the market, on the new products which we have launched, given the COVID-led scenario. So how has been the response, and, both in the domestic as well as in the international markets? Thank you.
So far the response has been good on the products which we've launched, but some of our major launches would happen in Q2 this year, right? So that's Q2 this year. So we're eagerly waiting for that. But whatever we've launched so far has been a good response, sir.
Okay, great, sir. Thank you and all the best. I'll get back into the queue. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhav Marda from Fidelity Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time. I just wanted to get an update from you on the two players that are looking to sort of exit the market, and then, like you also mentioned, the trends from China are also favorable for the company. So, have the two players already started sort of divesting some of their portfolio because of the M&A that will be happening, or that's the trigger which will play out more in the future, or has it already started happening?
Sure. I think if you're asking me for, there are two potential M&As. One is close to happen, and the second one is still in the process, right? In the process for it to happen. Is that the question, sir?
Yeah, that's right, sir. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the one which is close to happening, in that, can we expect that for some of the specialty pigment portfolios, they will end up divesting it because of competition, commission reasons, and then that sort of helps us, especially with the new capex that's come in for Sudarshan?
So I think there are two parts to it, sir. There is obviously, given that two big players are merging, and we are hoping that that will give some sense that customers would want to divest their portfolio, right? That's the major potential one we are looking for to kind of gain from.
Okay, sir. Okay, got it. And the other question that I had was, right now it seems like we are coming to the end of one phase of our growth capex. Once the 600 crore capex comes in, then I'm assuming for the next sort of 3 years or we are covered with the capex that we've already done, and it will be more about sweating the assets and ramping up the revenues. So the next major leg of growth capex probably is more 2023, 2024. Is that how we should be thinking right now?
So like I mentioned, we will be definitely sweating these assets before we make the next phase of expansion. But like I mentioned, we do require certain capexes for some backward integration, etc. And from a growth perspective, we'll wait first to see how we get the response on some of these products, and we may require some investments there.
Okay, good. And just last question from my side, the next leg of capex that we do, will we need to start at a new greenfield site with like a new land parcel, or existing plants have more space?
No, so everything will be brownfield here.
Oh, we still have more scope for brownfield? Okay, that's
yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viral Shah from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, just continuing on the capex bit. So we needed more clarity. Here in the presentation, you mentioned that the current capex plan is 600 crores, whereas earlier we have guided for 1,000 crores capex plan. So I think in part you did mention that some of it will be for backward integration. So is it right to understand that you will spend 400 crores for backward integration? Also, just a related question, I think sometime back you had come out with a press release stating that the board has approved FY22 capex plan at 135 crores. So this differential of 135 crores and 38 crores, can you help us understand that as well?
So firstly, I think the 1,000 crores was a mega investment plan which we had signed with the government of Maharashtra, that over the phase and in the next over some period we would make that investment, right? So that wasn't the 600 capex plan was approved by the board, which we are executing right now. So that's the other part, and 135 crores is being planned over and above this 600 crores, which the board has sanctioned. Nathuji, you want to add any clarifications?
No, sir. I think you have.
Okay. Yeah.
So would it be fine to assume that FY22 capex outflow will be 175 crores? That's 135 plus 38, which is yet to be made.
Plus we've not put to use the balance, right? So it depends on what you're talking about, which number you're referring to. We'll be putting. I don't have the chart in front of me, but if you look at the put to Nathuji, can you clarify? I don't have the chart in front of me, but the put to use this year would be how much? 220.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. I will just write it. So Viral, there are two parts to it. Am I audible, Viral?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So for FY22, out of this 600 crore, what we will put to use is around 307 crore, out of which already 269 crore incurred as a CWIP. Balance 38 crore we will be incurring. That is first part. Second part, I think you are referring to 135 of FY22 new capex which has been approved. So we expect around 80 to 90% of the cash out this year.
Okay, perfect. So secondly, on the other expenses during the quarter, they did on a quarter-on-quarter basis, they were higher by around 20 crores. So can you just explain if there was some one-off, or is it largely operational in nature? What was the cause for this increase?
So Viral, I will split this into two parts. One thing is there has also been a revenue growth and a production growth. So if I can see that out of that 40 to 50% is getting attributable to that increase in the numbers. One is on the sales side, other thing is on the production side. Apart from that also we have seen in quarter 4 a couple of increases. One is the cost increase in the power because of the coal rate changes, and coal rate has gone up. That is one. Second thing also, we had also seen the freight cost going up in Q4 due to unavailability of the container. As you are aware that this particular space has become so there has been so much of a constraint that the cost on the shipment has also gone up, and there has been a forex movement around 2 crore. So, and also in the Q4 we had higher share of our specialty production, which also increased the cost in our manufacturing, which is attributable to the hazardous waste cost. These are the couple of elements which has contributed quarter-on-quarter increase in the other expenses.
Sure. Thank you. And just last question, so what would be our net debt at the end of the quarter?
Viral, currently we are at around 600 plus crore, correct? So I would not like to put the number as such, and currently our debt to equity is around 0.8. Rather than getting into quarter, because quarter is a short period, I would like to see what will be the year-end state, and I am confident that we will improve the debt equity.
Sorry, let me just rephrase. My question was on the March 2021 year-ending debt.
Yeah. So we are March 2021 year-end debt, net debt is at 614 crore.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhruvam from HDFC Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thank you so much. So just a clarification on the previous answer, you mentioned that the capex for the year is for FY22 will be around 135 crores. But in the slide you have mentioned that the remaining capex is about 38 crores for FY22. So the remaining is for?
Nathuji, you want to take, that's the balance out of the 600. Nathuji, why don't you take the answer?
Yes. So the slide which you can see in our deck, that is slide number 9, it gives the overall plan against the 600 crore capex plan. So that balance 38 crore is out of our initial plan of 600 crore. The 135 crore which the earlier participant has asked, this is the new capex which has been sanctioned in the last board meeting.
Oh, okay. Got it. And this capex is pertaining to a new set of products or backward integration?
No, this set of products is this is more towards the infrastructure.
Okay. So I'm trying to understand, will this give a revenue boost or this should give just a margin boost? That is the objective.
The 135 crores out the 35 crores majorly will be kind of looking at some of the infrastructures, etc., for further growth for the future.
Oh, okay. Got it. For future. Got it. The second question was, you mentioned that the share of specialty for you for the full year basis is upwards of 60%, almost 16.9% if I'm not wrong. Yeah. In FY21. And the future capex, that the 600 crore capex, which is giving a revenue of about 1,000 crores, I would believe that the share is broadly similar, 60-40 or 70-30. But one of the argument earlier was that the incremental capex has a higher share of specialty, and that is the result. It should give a margin boost overall. So from FY20, FY21 levels, it should give a margin boost. But it seems the specialty share remains broadly the same. So just wanted to understand what am I missing. Is it that the new set of products are much more value accretive than the existing specialty share, or what is it?
Nathuji, you want to take this question?
So as you have rightly said, and what we have also presented is the specialty revenues stands at 69%. As also briefed earlier, the majority of the capex which we are doing right now, 600 crore, the major focus is on the specialty growth, correct? Also. So going forward, I expect that the revenue from specialty to show an incremental growth on this particular 1,000 to 1,200 crore revenue what we are projecting. So it will tilt the ratio slightly more on the specialty side, and that will also give us a benefit in terms of our margin.
So would the incremental 1,000 crores of revenue, 1,100 crores of revenue, have probably what 80-odd% share of specialty or more? The objective is, will it give a significant delta in margins?
So sir, I would not like to put the number, but to give an assurance that or rather to give the broad macro level view, is that this capex is predominantly majority is on the specialty side.
Got it. Okay. And just one last question quickly is, you mentioned in the slides that your capacity utilization is 86%. Would that in the quarter, I'm not sure about the full year numbers, if you can share that. And second, related to that is, in FY20, you had capitalized about 220 crores of the 600 crores plan. So given the utilization level is about 86%, would it be fair to say that large part of the FY20 capex that we had done, I mean of the 600 crore plan, is visible in the FY21 numbers? Or, I mean, the 86% number can go even higher significantly, I mean, probably 95 or...
No, I think to add kind of, what we're looking, I think 86% is a good number, which we would want to target kind of going forward, maybe, go towards the 90%, 90%, etc. I think most of the growth will come from the capex which we are putting in now.
So, just for clarity, can you share what will be the utilization for the full year? I believe Q4 will be much higher because of the India's run rate or because the first quarter was very weak. What could be the full year utilization?
Nathuji, would you have the number, or I think you want to?
No. So, my submission here is rather than looking at the full year number, the reason why we have given the Q4, because this is more a normalized period. H1 we saw the disruption, and now going forward we see that the normalcy will be there. So that's the reason we thought that we will only put the Q4 number.
Got it. Okay. Sure, sir. I have more questions. I'll join the queue. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Mehta from Vallum Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I firstly just wanted the breakup of 600 crore capex between the infra capex and the growth capex. Could you please give us a breakup?
Nathu, sir?
So, sir, this is the whole point. The reason why we want to, present this slide is the entire 600 crore. It has a mix of, the various elements. But finally, what we are looking at as a company that the potential, rather than splitting that between, growth and infrastructure, we see this as a holistic basis that this 600 crore is needed in various buckets for us to, aspire to get this revenue of 1,000 to 1,200 crore. Thank you.
Oh, got it. I think that is very helpful. And secondly, I wanted to understand. I was just looking at the margins of our business. Presently, we are at almost, I would say, at the present capacity of both the plants. We are operating at a full capacity, and we have a fairly good share of specialty business, where I would believe these are higher products which are having higher EBITDA margins. So when I look at the margin which we are earning at this level of utilization, and when I compare it to other players in India, the listed ones, I mean Megmani and I would say Ultramarine, the margins, I cannot understand the reason why they are earning a 16% margin, whereas these competitors who are operating on, I would say, despite the fact that we have the organic high performance pigments also in our portfolio, and we have a lot of the much higher value added products also, whereas these competitors are focused on these blue and green pigments and the ultramarine pigments, which are comparatively low generation, I mean the older generation products. So can you, what I wanted to understand is what is the reason we cannot, even on this level of existing plant utilizations and this level of demand, we cannot go to more than 17-18% margin. I mean, can we go to 20% margin even in this base business right now?
So we are building an organization for the future and preparing for the growth. So there is a lot more high cost which is involved in doing so. So for example, many of our Asian competitors will not have many, international sales team on their board. That's a huge cost which we incur. We have, the cost on R&D which we explain. There are several I would say overheads, direct sales costs which a company like us incurs, because we believe, that this, in the short term, this may not give us benefits, but in the long term, it's a very big sustainable benefit for us.
Got it. And so just one final question from. So just wanted to understand this. When I look at the new capex of this, the 600 crore capex, I wanted to understand what, if I look at it in tonnage terms, what portion of this capex is dedicated to the products which we have right now in our product basket, and where we already have the relationship, the market reach and the customer relationships ready for us to to leverage those products. And what tonnage would you attribute to the products where we are now getting into and updating our color index, coverage of the color index? So how much tonnage will you allocate it to the products which we are manufacturing right now in terms of the total tonnage you're adding through this 600 crore capex?
So I think it's a little, this information is a little kind of confidential to kind of talk about how we split this up, right?
Okay, sir. Sure. No problem, sir. All the best for the future quarters.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Paras Nagra from Enam. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, congratulations on a good set of numbers. I had two specific questions. The first one being, what is the kind of maintenance capex in your business on a 932 crore gross block that we have created? What is the kind of maintenance capex that we can expect from this business?
Nandu sir?
Yeah. So, hi sir. So normally, we see the maintenance capex which is incurred over a period is in the range of 30 to 35 crore per year.
Okay. But and the same trajectory should continue going ahead?
So it will increase in the same percentage, no?
Got it. And so my next question is on raw material inflation. We have seen a lot of your input raw material prices going up sharply. What is the kind of raw material inflation, as well as if you could give us some color on the procurement and sourcing strategy also with respect to China? How much is the current China mix, and the whole raw material basket, how it is moving? Thank you, sir.
I think basically we've seen an all-around increase in raw materials in several of the categories, very steep increases, and whether they're acetic acid based or whether they're whether they were phthalic, urea based, etc. So we've seen an all-around increase in raw material cost. The split of our China and India has not changed much. It still remains. It's still at the same area. We are hoping that looking at how the commodity prices, metals, everything has increased, we are hoping that things will settle down, and our endeavor has been to kind of really drive some of these, kind of pass on these increases to our customers. Having said this, the increases are quite steep, and we remain concerned that if such a large, it should not finally affect the ultimate demand, right, when the cost increases are so high.
Got it, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manish Poddar from Nippon India AIF. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for the call and congrats on the good set of numbers. So just one question is, can you probably help me understand, let's say in this incremental sales which you've had for the full year, roughly about 155 crores. Now, how much of that would be, let's say, from new customers versus existing customers?
So that's a little bit too narrow a data point to kind of share.
Because what I'm trying to understand is that, our earlier strategy that was that, you want to increase share from the existing customers. And at the other side, if you look at it, a lot of the number 1, 2 player is getting consolidated. Or let's say, there's some sort of shareholder change which is happening up there. So just trying to understand, let's say, this utilization levels which you've got in Q4, is that a function of existing clients ramping up orders significantly, or is that a function of new clients? Just a broader split, let's say 70-30, 60-40, any number on that would be helpful. I'm just trying to understand, how are we gaining traction, let's say, on the new versus the old clients?
No, I think in general there has been we've maintained a trend of, so I can't give you a percentage, but we've maintained our same trend of saying that, how we've kind of engaged with our existing customers and got, a better wallet share or newer products approved. Yeah.
Okay, and would you be able to help me quantify, let's say, what sort of inflation would you have seen at the RM level and till blended, let's say, and by let's say, April or May, how much of that would you have passed out? Thank you.
Nadu, sir.
Right. So, as sir has said earlier, that there has been a sharp increases in several intermediate, that also we had said in our commentary, and it has been across, and the percentages are varying. But we see this inflation impact due to the raw material price increases will be somewhere in between 2 to 2.5%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sanjay Jain from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and thanks for the opportunity. Couple of questions. First on the, again, sorry to hop on the capex and the revenue potential. A small clarification. We said that we have a utilization of 86% in the Q4. If I analyze it, it's like a 2,000 odd crores of revenue we are looking at. And when we say 1,000 crores of incremental revenue from entire 600 crores of capex, and we are looking at targeting close to 90% kind of an utilization level. So just want to get a number, what will be the revenue, assuming no new capex is done from the existing capex, what should be the peak revenue that we should be able to achieve? Hello?
Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah. Sir, can you please repeat your question? There was some lag here.
Okay. My question was that now that we are at a 86% utilization level in Q4, and if I analyze it, it's like 2,000 crores of annual revenue. And we have said that the incremental 600 crores of revenue will bring in 1,000 to 1,200 crores of revenue. So, what would be the peak revenue, assuming no new capex is incurred? From the existing gross block, what could be the peak revenue we can achieve, assuming the gross block we are talking is FY22?
So a couple of points, like what we are stating here is the potential of 1,000 to 1,200 crore. And having said so, we have put couple of capex and that to put to use. It will give this particular projects are in the initial ramp up phase. So going forward, we will see the utilization as well as the potential of this revenue going up further. What we are expecting that within next 3 to 4 years, once all the capexes are fully ramped up, we will get around 1,000 to 1,200 crores. So that is the number which we would like to get.
So my question was here that what we are talking of this 1,000 crore, what is the base number we are looking at? It's an FY19 base number or it's a FY21 base number? What is the base number we should hold on and then look at this 1,200 crores of incremental revenue?
Yeah. So, then for that particular base number, I think we can refer FY20 because in FY20 we have done the capex, which was in the Q4. So FY20 can be taken as a base.
Okay. So basically on FY20 we are talking of an additional 1,000 to 1,200 crores of revenue. That's a fair understanding, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Second question again is on the non-specialty part. The growth looks phenomenally strong. This is despite Chinese increasing the rebate and India cutting the rebate. So it looks like we have combated well. What has been the reason behind this? How were we able to achieve this growth despite such a strong headwind?
I think it was a demand supply gap on certain product lines, and that's how we could achieve this growth.
And this is sustainable, right? The revenue number is sustainable. There is no one-off gain or.
No, it's not one-off, but the growth rates may not be sustainable. But of course, we will maintain what
absolute revenue. I'm talking about exit revenue. That is sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My last question again on a gross profit margin, which Nachuti said that we may look at a pressure of 200 to 250 basis points. So will we go back to say 40% before we jump back to 44%? Is that the right understanding, or you think this time it will be a much smoother transition than last time when the volatility in the raw material prices were there, we went up to 37%. So what changes the scenario this time over the last time? Is the raw material more widespread and it's easily passable, or how should we see this entire gross profit margin trend, say, over next 4 quarters?
Yeah. So a couple of points is on the inflation side, when we say that the raw material inflation is in between the range of 2 and 2.5%, it is more on the input side, correct? So there has also been a pricing actions which are in place. And as mentioned earlier, we are in the process of, increasing the prices and passing on this raw material increases to our end customers. As also briefed by Rajesh sir earlier, that we have to, balance the act because the couple of raw material prices has been very sharp. So we need to also see that how we will be able to pass it on to the market. So, as a company, we don't see that gross margin will have we don't want to give a number, but it is not that the entire 2 and 2.5% will be the number which is getting down the gross margin. Our endeavor will be try to minimize the impact as far as possible, so as to maintain the number in the narrowest range.
Got it, sir. Got it. That's it from my side, and thanks for answering all questions. Just one last bookkeeping. Can you give up the breakup of specialty and non-specialty? Again, I missed a couple of them actually. Nathuji, I know you said it in your initial remark, but I think I missed a couple of products.
Yeah. So when we talk about specialty, we talk about azo, high performance pigment, cosmetic and dispersion. And non-specialty, we talk about halocyanic, inorganic, and the effect pigment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. In the interest of time, participants are requested to limit their questions to 2 per participant. Next question is from the line of Gagan Thareja from Kotak. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, the first question is pertaining to the fixed asset turn ratio on the capex. I think if I refer back to your previous call, last quarter's call, you indicated that the total capex of 575 crores, of which 70% is for capacity addition, and on that we'll get a fixed asset turn of 2.5. And if I go further back down to to previous call transcripts, I think generally been indicating that asset turns could be fixed asset turns could be in the order of 3 or even more on this capex. But now you're saying 600 crores of capex will give you 1,000 to 1,200 crores of revenue, which is 2x. So what changed? And why is that fixed asset turn ratio not in line with what you've been indicating in the past?
I think there are 2 points. When we were talking about the ratios that time, I think, and that's why we wanted to talk about the total, we were talking only the revenue generating kind of capexes, whereas now we are talking about in totality all the capexes, including the infrastructure capexes and the EBITDA capex.
See, so what you're saying is that there's actually 400 crores of capex which is revenue generating, because on using 2.5 as the benchmark, that will give 1,000 crore, and 200 crore is infrastructure. Am I right in that understanding?
No, I don't know which figure. Which figures, sir? This is not clear to me.
No. What I'm trying to say is that on 600 you get a turnover of 1,200, which means an aggregate turn of 2, right? 1,200 divided by 600. But you're saying that actually only on capacity addition portion out of that 600 you can get an asset turn of 2.5, which means only 400 crores out of 600 crores is capacity addition, because 400 into 2.5 gives me 1,000 crores, and the rest is infrastructure. Is that the correct way to look at it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And again, referring back to your previous quarter's conference call, you'd indicated a capex of 575, and you said 30%. If I understood the transcript correctly, was related to cost or backward integration measures. Is that what the balance 200 crores out of the total 600 is about?
The 600 is a mix of revenue, infrastructure, and just to clarify, it's a mix of infrastructure, revenue, and EBITDA generation. And in terms of, if you take only the revenue generation, that's what I said. That's how the statement was made on 2.5 times that time.
And how much of it is for EBITDA generation? If you could give some ballpark idea there.
No, we're not splitting it up completely on that perspective, sir.
Okay, and the 135 crore that you got the board approval for is entirely focused at backward integration, or is it focused at substituting, the China supply chain and getting?
It's not for, as I mentioned earlier, the 135 crores is for some of the infrastructure and putting up some, infrastructure and some getting on some trials for some of the new products. Not revenue generating.
Okay. And lastly, from my side, as the revenue mix moves a little bit more towards specialty or maybe a little bit more towards exports? And does that impact your receivables and inventory cycle in any way?
No.
Okay. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhruvam from HDFC Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thank you for taking it again. Sir, the question is on the 135 crore capex. I just wanted to understand this better. This infra capex, is it for the future expansions that you will do, and that is why you're putting probably the infra, the road, and other things, or is this to support the existing 600 crore capex that we are doing?
No. Existing is already all the infrastructure is there. And the infrastructure is more in terms of the effluent treatment, etc., for future expansion.
Okay. Got it. So the future, so whenever we expand the next set of capacity, whenever we announce.
Yeah, it takes longer for some of the infrastructure to come up, and that's how we are setting it up.
Got it. So the next set of capexes that you announce will have numerically a higher asset turn, because some part of the capex has already been incurred in terms of the utilities.
I'll have to. It's not utility, but it's more of this. When we come to that set of numbers, we would definitely talk about those numbers.
But just to make it clear, this is not something to support the existing capex plans. This capex is not to support the existing capex, to deliver the revenue for existing. Got it. Sure, sir. Thanks. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. And again, thanks for a good set of numbers as well as the presentation. So the first question is, in the last couple of months, that is April and May, have we seen any kind of logistics and supply chain related challenges, both from our sourcing perspective as well as exports, and will that have an impact on the ensuing quarter results? Thank you.
Nathu, sir?
Sir, can you please repeat your question?
So it's about the sir, we did find challenges in terms of logistics, etc. We've seen cost increases. However, we've not had any disruption in terms of some delays, etc., but not any disruption in terms of sales.
Right. That answers the question. So the second question is, once the current capex program is completely implemented, including the 135 booths that you have talked about, what is the peak debt that we are looking at? Thank you.
Nathu, sir, you want to take this?
So, sir, I would not like to put a number, but sir, going forward, I see that this debt to equity ratio which we are targeting, which we are looking at, should be better than the current year.
All right. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thank you. We will take the last question from the line of Madhav Marda from Fidelity Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the follow-up. Yeah, I just wanted to understand that if I look at our EBITDA margins that we've done in quarter 4, we are sort of at a decently healthy number at 15%. Despite the MEIS impact of 1%, plus there's some cost inflation coming in because of container availability and higher coal prices, etc. So, and then of course, like you said, we've invested in manpower, R&D for future potential for the business. So of course, I'm not looking for a guidance on the number, but if I take all these numbers into account, it seems like our steady state margin should be sort of closer to the 20% mark, because there's so many numbers that are built into our current sort of margin profile. Is that like a fair understanding to have broadly directionally over the next 3 to 4 years as we look at the business?
Nathu, sir?
Hi. So as a part of our, overall initiatives and our, overall plan, we would like our EBITDA percentage, to off the growth track. Putting the number, what you are saying at 20%, I would not like to put that. But yes, we would like to increase this percentage. But couple of factors which will also help us in the next 3 to 4 years. One is the ramp up of the current capex which are getting put to use over the next 3 to 4 years, which will also give us a good kind of operating leverage, and we will on the growth trajectory as far as EBITDA percentage is concerned. Would not like to put the number as of.
And is most of the investment or the around manpower in terms of the international sales force that we put in place, is the majority of it already in place, or do we still need to hire more senior level people in the international markets, or that part of the investment